Hey, Browns fans, still reacting to the Browns' incredible 33-31 win over the Baltimore Ravens today at M&T Bank Stadium. I'm sure Browns fans back in Cleveland still very much riding high after watching that game, despite the sweaty palms experience that I'm sure many of you went through. So excited to be back. We got another one for you here. And I think on this one, Anthony, I want to sort of just hone in on the fact that the Browns tried to give this game away, man, multiple times. I have a list. I won't rattle off yet, but I have a list of like all the moments where momentum sort of swung back in their favor, and then they did something stupid, whether it was a penalty or a turnover or whatever, that swayed it back towards the Ravens. But yeah, what did you make of just the fact that this felt for a while like one of those classic Browns just stub your toe games, and then they're kind of able to eke it out at the end there and do something right, flip the script on this franchise is maybe a good way to put it.
Well, that's what it kind of feels like, right? It feels like the new Browns, where hey, they'll still do some of that dumb stuff that we're so used to in the past, but they can overcome it. And you saw a lot of it today. Like, you'll get into some of the details of it, but like just from a normal fan perspective, watching the game, it just was like 2 steps forward, 7 steps back. Like you stop the Ravens on 3rd and goal. And actually, Lamar even throws a pick, but there's a holding, or everything that was going wrong in like critical situations.
Yeah,
it's amazing that this team was able to overcome a lot of those miscues to come out with a victory.
Well, and it started on the second play of the game, right? Like Deshaun throws the interception, maybe not totally his fault. Could have thrown a higher ball there, but really just Kyle Hamilton making an incredible play to intercept it and take it back for the touchdown. But that was obviously, I think, a big one where you're already playing behind the 8 ball, right? But then some of the other critical moments that I wrote down here. So with 6 minutes to go in the first, Ravens had a 3rd and 6. Defense stops them, and then there's an illegal contact penalty by Ward, gives them an automatic first down. 2 plays later, Baltimore scores the touchdown. Then you had 9:48 to go in the second quarter. Cleveland has 1st and 10 to the Baltimore 13. A holding moves them back out of the red zone. They end up settling for a field goal there. 2:20 to go in the third quarter. Browns have cut it to 24-17. Defense forces a stop, and we know what happens after that. Prochet muffs the punt. 14 minutes to go in the fourth. 3rd and long for Baltimore at the Browns 11. Incomplete. Greg Newsome called for a holding. That's the one you referenced there. 12:21 to go in the game. Lamar Jackson intercepted in the end zone. There's the JOK holding on that one. This is all part of the same sequence, obviously, at this point. And then you had 8:16 to go. The Newsome pick 6. Hopkins misses the PAT. It was just it was a comedy of errors and mistakes, and I think that's why the vibe around this game really did feel like they're just gonna like it's over. Like it didn't seem like a game the Browns were ever going to win when they had that many mistakes, and they found a way. And I do think you bring up a good point. Like the new Browns is kind of what you called it. I think that's almost a good way to frame it, because this was a win that old Browns team certainly would not have won when you list off all those moments. And there was others, but all those moments of mistakes and things that went wrong.
Old Browns lose this game by 2-3 scores. Like that was the most amazing part about it, is, man, like the sequence, the biggest sequence is after the fake punt, or after the fumbled punt, right? Because we have some momentum, right? You're now down 24-17. You just go on that big long drive, right? Your offense feels good. The defense comes out, does what they need to do, force a punt. All right, perfect. James Prochet was great last week. Former Raven. Don't know if there's anything involved there.
He was praised. But Bubba Ventrone was praising him on Wednesday. I was like, oh, this is a great story, feel-good story. And then he muffs the punt.
It's right through his hands. And then it's like, all right, sudden change. The defense comes back onto the field. Spence, how many times do you see that in any football, high school, college, peewee? A turnover leads immediately to 6 points. Like very next play, boom, touchdown. Well, the Browns defense holds, right? They hold them. And then just 2 plays where it's like the Greg Newsome one, man. I mean, there's holdings in the league, and then there's whatever that was. Like it was just defense, and it was just, hey, he was covering Odell Beckham, and like shouts to Odell for getting his touchdown. And I was like, wish it would have went better, obviously, in Cleveland, but love watching Odell play. And it's like, holy cow, Greg did not hold, like just didn't hold him, but they called it, right? I think JOK's, that one was a hold for sure. Like that was one where you're like, all right.
And I'll say this too, for the number of penalties the Browns drew today, this is when I left off the list, but the Mike Ford, right before he made the interception, he pushes Lamar out of bounds on a hard hit, like 2 plays before. And I was shocked that the flag didn't come out. He was still in bounds, so it was kind of within the line of demarcation of like, okay, he was still not out of bounds yet, so it wasn't a late hit. But that close of a call, quarterback along the sideline, I was kind of like, you got lucky on that one, and he made up. He didn't make up for it because it wasn't a flag, but he made it count because 2 plays later he gets the interception. It was like, okay, you're not going to flag me. Well, I'm going to make another play and make you forget all about that. I almost made that mistake, and it worked out. But still, like that was another one that was like very close call. I'll say this: you talk about new Browns versus old Browns. There's been a lot of calls in games that have gone I know today there was a lot against them.
Yeah.
But there's been a lot of calls that have gone against the Browns in recent games. So I don't want to hear Browns fans complaining about the refs for a little while because they've had a lot go in their favor recently.
We've definitely had a lot go our way. And then I also want to real quickly go back to that sequence with Mike Ford. Another huge blunder by the Browns where they get the ball. All you need is points, right? You get past the 50. All you needed was like 4 or 5 yards to get into Dustin Hopkins' range. And they go incomplete. Then they walk everybody out for a 60-yarder. He pulls them back, and then you're just trying to Hail Mary. Like, you end up winning the game, but there's so much you look back on. And that's the NFL, right? Like, it's the margin of error is this big in a normal NFL game. When you're playing the NFL's best team, it's this big, and the Browns get away with one, even with all those mistakes. That was a weird
decision, too, when you think about it, because he was going to try the 60-yarder. Probably wasn't good. I mean, that would have been career long for Dustin Hopkins, and he, I think, talked about after the game, like, yeah, probably wasn't going to make it or was going to be a long shot anyway. But I also just think, like, you bring P.J. Walker and Cole, because Deshaun obviously didn't take that last snap, to try to heave one to the end zone. I was like, you're better off at least just kicking the field goal and seeing if it goes. You know what I mean? That's at least how I felt about it. But, I mean, I don't know. That wasn't a huge deal in the end, but you're right that it was a wasted opportunity after you got the interception.
He did add, though, that they had their kick returner back underneath the goalpost, and he saw that, and he was like, if he misses it short, we don't want all of our.
That's right. That's right. He did say that.
Think back to Alabama, Auburn, right? You don't want that to happen. That is a backbreaker if that goes that way. So anyway, that's so many mistakes that the Browns were able to overcome.
Yeah, I think the bigger thing in that sequence was just that you missed the opportunity to, because like you said, the sequence of plays, incompletion, sets you up for the 60-yarder, and then you kind of had to rethink how the way you were doing it there. But yeah, I'm with you on that. Yeah, like I think the theme of this one and the theme of this game as a whole really was, this feels like a different Browns team from past ones, that in an instant like this where they're getting flagged left and right, they're making mistakes, they're shooting themselves in the foot, they muff a punt, whatever it might be. Old Browns teams don't eke that one out. This Browns team does. It was a resilient win. It was a statement win. And we're looking forward to talking more about it with you on the Browns Digest YouTube channel and, of course, at brownsdigest.com. Keep it locked.